The Brothers War spoiler season doesn't technically start until October 27th, when we are going to get the Brothers War debut video live on Magic's official YouTube channel. However, today we got the Brothers War Prebeat, which is when Wizards of the Coast gets to inform local game stores about the different exclusives, promos, and selling points before those stores place their orders on the upcoming set. And this was one of the best Prebeats I've ever seen. In this video, I'll be going over everything contained in today's Prebeat for the next mainline, standard legal, draftable set coming to Magic the Gathering and Arena, the Brothers War. The first card spoiled today were the full art basic lands for the set, which as always were absolutely stunning. Wizards has not missed this year. There are 2 of each basic land type, and they feature the mechanical titans used in battle by the 2 brothers, Urza and Mishra. These are gorgeous lands as always. They're always one of the things I'm the most excited to see from the new sets. But moving on to mechanically unique cards, our first spoiler is the Might Stone and Weak Stone. When the Might Stone and Weak Stone enters the battlefield, choose 1, draw 2 cards. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn, and you can tap it to add double colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. Already a pretty great addition to artifact-focused commander decks, but that final line of text in parentheses there, melds with Urza, Lord Protector, is probably the most exciting part of the card. We now know that melds is going to be in the set, and the second spoiler was Urza himself. Urza, Lord Protector, 1 a white and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature, human artificer. Artifacts, instants, and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and for 7 mana, if you own and control Urza and the Might Stone and Weak Stone, you can exile them and meld them together into Urza Planeswalker. Urza Planeswalker is a 7 loyalty Planeswalker that can activate its loyalty abilities twice per turn instead of once, and has 5 different loyalty abilities. There's a +2 to make all your artifacts, instants, and sorceries cost 2 less and gain 2 life, a +1 to draw 2 cards and discard a card, a 0 to create 2 1/1 colorless artifact soldiers, a -3 to exile a non-land permanent, and a -10 to give your artifacts and planeswalkers indestructible until end of turn, and then blow up all other non-land permanents. Needless to say, Urza Planeswalker is the most powerful Planeswalker ever printed on sheer stats, but it's also by far the most difficult to get on board. You have to play your 3 mana Urza and your 5 mana Might Stone and Weak Stone, and then get 7 mana at a later time while both are still on board to activate that sorcery speed ability. So I doubt this is going to blow up any constructed formats and be way too strong there, because the individual Urza and Might Stone and Weak Stone cards are not that great 1v1. But they are incredibly cool, incredibly powerful, incredibly splashy, just big effects to have in Commander and casual formats, and I think that is super, super cool. That is exactly what you want Urza Planeswalker to be. You want it to just be devastatingly powerful if you can assemble it, and it certainly is. Very cool design, and I was very, very excited to see this in the Prebeat today. Another thing that got me really excited here about the set is it's turning out to be everything I wanted it to be. They are talking very much about all of the mechanical titans that were used to fight in the Urza versus Mishra War, the Brothers War itself. We have the Might Stone and Weak Stone being an artifact synergistic card, and it's pretty much all but guaranteed there are going to be tons of artifacts and artifact synergies in the set, which of course has me very excited. The next thing that they spoiled was also incredible. They just did not miss today. The commanders for the 2 commander decks in this set are going to be Urza and Mishra, and not only that, every single card contained in both commander decks is going to be in the classic retro frame, the old border from the original cards. Mishra Eminence 1 is 2, a blue, black, and red for a 5/4 legendary human artificer. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can create a token that is a copy of a non-creature artifact you control, except its name is Mishra's Warform, and it's a 4/4 construct in addition to its other types. It gains haste until end of turn, and sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Don't really have to mention how many different combos you can do with this, with artifacts that were never designed to be creatures turning into creatures. There's already plenty of really nice ways to attempt to utilize that with things that turn artifacts into creatures. And the fact that Mishra does it once per turn, you get that copy, you get its enter the battlefield effects, then you get its leave the battlefield effects, if that's relevant, by sacrificing the copy, is really cool. This is going to be a very powerful, very fun build around artifact commander. And then, of course, the other commander, Urza, Chief Artificer, is 3, a white, blue, and a black for a 4/5 legendary human artificer with affinity for artifact creatures. Urza also gives artifact creatures you control menace, and at the beginning of your end step, you get to create a 0/0 construct artifact creature token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So Urza is a much more straightforward, just tons of artifact creatures kind of win condition commander, which is fun. It's definitely something I've done a lot before and I'll do a lot again. You just want to have a million artifacts on board so these constructs are as big as possible. The constructs are going to have menace as long as you control Urza. Very, very nice, very powerful mechanic. Again, very powerful commander. These two cards are absolute bangers, but the decision to make both decks completely old border is just absolutely perfect. I mean, this is a nostalgia set through and through. We're going over one of the main wars, the main plot lines from Magic's past, and way in Magic's past, the war from like Antiquities era. So really, really, really cool. Incredible flavor wins. They've spoiled several of the reprints coming into the commander decks, which means these are all getting very fancy old border versions. Soul Ring, Command Tower, Preordain, Reliquary Tower, Skull Clamp, and Baleful Strix. They all look absolutely gorgeous, as you can assume. Really, really great to get just full old border commander decks here. That is so cool. Next up, they showed off the 30th anniversary promos. These are the pre-release promos for the set that you get in addition to the regular pre-release promo you get in your sealed kit. So you get one of these at random per pre-release you attend, and one of these promos is insane. We have Wood Elves, Wall of Roots, Windfall, all great, all cool promos that'll probably be worth a few bucks a piece over time. But the last promo we have is Loyal Retainers, and the cheapest printing of Loyal Retainers right now is like 40 bucks. So if you win that D4 roll, if you get the Loyal Retainers at the pre-release, you basically already won the pre-release. You already got your money back. That is an incredible promo to just be handing out at pre-release. And if you didn't have plans to attend the Brothers War pre-release before, it's a pretty good incentive to try it out. Next up, the Buy a Box promo is an old bordered Mishra's Foundry. This is a new land. It taps for a colorless, or you can spend 2 mana to make it a 2/2 Assembly Worker artifact creature until end of turn, or you can spend 1 mana and tap it to give an attacking Assembly Worker +2/+2 until end of turn. This is a very cool, very flavorful and classic take on Mishra's Factory. I guess they decided that would be too powerful to put in standard at just 1 mana to make it a 2/2 until end of turn. But still, very cool callback and great to get an old border version of it. Another great spoiler that I'm very happy with. Next up, we have the promo that will come in bundles. These are the 9-card little bundles that come with the box to hold your cards in, and that promo is Queen Kayla Bin Krug. She is 1, a red and a white for a legendary human noble, and for 4 mana you can tap her and discard all cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. You may choose an artifact or creature card with mana value 1 that you discarded, then do the same for an artifact or creature with mana value 2 and 3, and you can return all of those cards to the battlefield. You can only activate that ability as a sorcery. So really incredible way to refuel and potentially dump all of your cheap cards for free. A really fun build around commander here, and potentially even pretty solid in limited here, drawing a fresh new hand and casting all of your cheap stuff for free. Very, very cool card, and again, awesome to see the retro frame for her. Last and certainly not least, this is the most exciting thing for me about this set as primarily a drafter, and that is the retro frame artifacts. Now, that name doesn't tell you much, but these are literally the mystical archives from Strixhaven, but now they're classic artifacts instead. What that means is that these are cards that will show up not just in collector's boosters, they'll show up in draft boosters, they'll show up in set boosters, and they are cards that are reprints of classic artifacts from Magic's history in the retro frame, and if you open one in your draft booster pack, you can legally draft it and play it in your deck, which is very cool, but they are not standard legal. I'm a huge fan of these type of cards, like the invocations, the mystical archives that show up in limited, because they just spice things up. Every 1 in a million drafts, all of a sudden now you're drafting a literal worm coil engine, one of the strongest draft cards of all time. But there's also a bunch of really flavorful, really cool reprints. Lodestone Golem, the second strongest reprint here in terms of limited viability. Very, very strong cards. And then we have just old school classics like Jalum Tome and Ivory Tower. So just another incredible, really cool decision from Wizards. There's also a special printing of all of these cards that is going to be the schematic artwork, which is like the artwork of the schematics that the artificers were sketching out when they were designing these creatures, these artifacts, before they actually came into being, which is really, really cool. I love the alternate art and the original arts on these. These are all gorgeous. They're all great collectibles, and I'm very, very excited to draft some of these retro frame artifacts. But that's it. That's all the information we get today. It's just a prebeat. It's not the full debut video, so the fact that we got this much information is kind of crazy. And every single thing that they announced today was just perfect to me, because I love artifacts. I love drafting. I love the old border. I love the retro nostalgia of the set. Urza and Mishra battling it out. Everything's just really cool. Great to see an Urza and Mishra spoiler. We saw 2 Urzas spoiled today. We saw an Urza Planeswalker. We saw that Meld is going to be in the set. We saw retro frames for commander decks and retro frame cards in the set. We're getting classic reprints of powerful artifacts from throughout Magic's history. Everything about this set just speaks to me, and I'm incredibly excited for when this set does finally launch in November. So that's it for the spoilers today, but I think they were incredible. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm tell you to watch more of these. I do generally do a bunch of draft videos on Magic Arena, but I do like making spoiler videos when there's really cool spoiler announcements like this. So that's it for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.